She looked me dead in the eye at a party and said, "You should be grateful I even let you in my life." Her friends nodded and laughed. I didn't argue. I just smiled and left. Weeks later, she walked into a job interview and froze when I was sitting across the table on the hiring panel. There are certain moments in life that act as a system reboot. Everything freezes, the screen goes black for a second, and when it comes back on, the entire operating system has changed. For me, that moment came at a loud, overcrowded party, holding a lukewarm beer I didn't even want. My girlfriend of 8 months, Amelia, was the center of attention, as always. She was beautiful, vibrant, and possessed a level of confidence that could power a small city. I'm a pretty low-key guy. I run the operations department for a mid-sized tech firm. It's a demanding job, but I don't wear a suit, and I don't talk about it much. I think Amelia interpreted my quiet nature as a lack of ambition. To her and her friends, a flock of aspiring influencers and marketing gurus, I was just the stable, slightly boring boyfriend. The reliable background character in the movie of her life. We were in a circle with her friends when one of them started gushing about how lucky Amelia was to have me. "He's so good to you," the friend said. "He literally redid your entire website for you." Which was true. I'd spend about 40 hours of my free time fixing the buggy, amateurish website for her personal brand consultancy, which was essentially just her Instagram account. Amelia took a sip of her wine, tossed her hair back, and looked me dead in the eye. There was no humor in her expression, just a cold, hard assessment. "You should be grateful I even let you in my life," she said. The statement dropped into the conversation like a stone. Her friends, after a split second of stunned silence, started nodding and laughing in that sycophantic way they had. They were validating her, reinforcing her belief that she was the prize and I was the lucky contestant who'd somehow won her. I didn't argue. I didn't get angry. I didn't say a word. A strange clarity washed over me. All the little red flags I'd been ignoring. Her constant subtle digs about my job, her entitlement, the way she treated service staff. They all suddenly snapped into sharp focus. This wasn't a partnership. It was a monarchy. And I was just a subject. So I smiled. A small, tight smile that didn't reach my eyes. I raised my beer bottle to her in a mock toast, took one last sip, and set it down on a nearby table. "Excuse me," I said to the group. Then I turned, walked through the crowd, out the front door, and never looked back. I walked the 2 miles back to my apartment. By the time I got there, my phone had a few missed calls and a series of texts from her. "Where did you go? That was so rude. Are you seriously mad about that?" It was a joke. It wasn't a joke. It was a mission statement. I typed out a single reply. "I'm not mad. I'm grateful. You've made it very clear where I stand. All of your things will be boxed up and sent to your parents' address by the end of the week. I wish you the best." Then I blocked her number. I blocked her on every social media platform. I deleted every picture of us from my phone. It was a clean, swift amputation. She thought her presence in my life was a gift. She was about to find out that her absence was a promotion. And in a few weeks, she was going to learn a very hard lesson about whose life she should have been grateful to be a part of. The universe has a funny way of balancing the books, and I had a front row seat on the audit committee. Update 1: It's been about a month since what my friends now refer to as the Gratefulness Gala. Thanks for the support on my first post. A lot of you said a clean break was the only way to go, and you were 100% right. There's a strange peace that comes from excising a toxic person from your life so completely. It's like cleaning out your garage. You didn't realize how much useless junk was cluttering up the place until it's gone. As promised, I had all of Amelia's belongings professionally packed and shipped to her parents' house in the suburbs. I got a single, furious email from her a week later. I'd forgotten to block her email, which was a novel-length tirade about how I was a coward and a sociopath. She accused me of throwing away something amazing over one little comment. It wasn't one little comet. It was the tip of a very large, very ugly iceberg. I replied with a single sentence, noted, "Please direct any further correspondence to my lawyer," and then created a filter to send any future emails from her directly to the trash. Life moved on. I focused on my work. My company, Innovate Dynamics, has been in a massive growth phase. We specialize in creating custom logistics and operational software for large-scale retail and e-commerce businesses. It's a niche, high-stakes field, and we're very, very good at it. I've been with the company since it was a 5-person startup. Now we're over 200 employees, and I, as the director of operations, am one of the key decision-makers. I helped build this place. Amelia never knew any of this, not really. When she'd asked what I did, I told her I run operations for a tech company. She heard tech, and probably pictured me in a cubicle fixing printers. She never asked for details, never showed any interest. Her eyes would glaze over if I ever mentioned work. She had no idea about the scale of the company, my position in it, or my equity stake. To her, my job was just the thing that paid for her expensive dinners. This lack of curiosity was about to become a major problem for her. About 2 weeks ago, my head of HR and my lead project manager came into my office. They wanted to get my final approval and a job description before they posted it. We were creating a new senior-level position, client integration specialist. This wasn't a sales job. It was a high-level client relations role. The person would be the main point of contact for our biggest accounts. We're talking Fortune 500 companies. They needed to be impeccably professional, detail-oriented, a strategic thinker, and above all, humble enough to understand that our client success was our only priority. The salary package was substantial, well into the 6 figures with significant performance bonuses. We posted the job, and the applications flooded in. Last week, my HR director, a sharp woman named Carol, sent me the shortlist of the 5 candidates they had selected for the final round of interviews. As part of our company culture, for a role this critical, the final interview is conducted by a panel that includes the department head, me, the direct manager, and HR. We like to get a 360-degree view of the candidate. I opened the file with the 5 resumes. I was just skimming the names. David Chen, Michael Thompson, Sarah Rodriguez, Amelia Peterson. I stopped. I actually laughed out loud. There, on my screen, was the resume of my ex-girlfriend. It was creative. She had rebranded her personal branding consultancy into a legitimate-looking freelance career. She'd listed her work on her own website, the one I built, as a major project. She'd even managed to get a few small clients since I'd kicked her out. It was polished, full of buzzwords, and just convincing enough to get past the initial screening. My first thought was to recuse myself from the interview. It was the HR-approved, professional thing to do. But then I thought about her words. You should be grateful I even let you in my life. She saw me as beneath her. She had no idea that the boring job she disdained had put me in a position to literally hold her entire professional future in my hands. The irony was just too perfect. This wasn't about revenge. Not in a petty way. This was about due diligence. I am responsible for the success of my department. It's my job to ensure we hire the absolute best people. A candidate's character, their integrity, their ability to work as part of a team. These are not small things. Amelia had given me a unique, unsolicited, 8-month-long character reference. It would be irresponsible of me not to use that data. I told Carol that I knew one of the candidates personally from a few years back, but that I was confident I could remain impartial. She accepted that, and we scheduled the interviews for next week. So, in 3 days, Amelia is going to walk into our corporate headquarters for what she thinks is the job interview of her dreams. She's going to be prepped and polished, ready to sell herself as the ultimate professional. She's going to walk into that boardroom, and she's going to see me sitting at the head of the table. She thought she was auditioning for a role in my personal life, and that I wasn't grateful enough for the opportunity. She's about to find out she's up for a role in my professional life, and the casting director is the man she threw away. This isn't going to be a drama-filled confrontation. It's going to be a professional assessment. And I already have all the performance review notes I need. Final update, it's done. The interview was yesterday, and it was everything I expected and more. I'm sitting here with a signed offer letter for the new candidate on my desk, and I've never been more certain of a hiring decision in my life. The day started like any other. I got to the office early, had my usual coffee, and went through my morning meetings. The interview panel, me, Carol from HR, and the lead project manager, Dave, met a half hour before the first candidate to review our questions. I kept my demeanor professional, focused, giving no indication that this day was any different from another. Amelia's interview was scheduled for 11 a.m. At 10:55, Carol's assistant buzzed the conference room to let us know the candidate had arrived. A minute later, the door opened, and in she walked. She was the picture of corporate polish. She was wearing a sharp, tailored suit, her hair was perfect, and she had a portfolio clutched in her hand. She walked in with that signature confidence, a bright, practiced smile on her face, ready to charm. She shook hands with Carol, then with Dave. Her smile was unwavering. Then she turned to me. The moment her eyes met mine is a moment I will store in my memory forever. It was like watching a building get demolished in slow motion. The confident smile didn't just disappear, it shattered. The color drained from her face. Her hand, which had been extended towards me, froze in midair before dropping limply to her side. Her mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. It was the pure, silent screech of a computer that has just encountered a fatal system error. I, on the other hand, remained perfectly calm. I didn't smirk. I didn't gloat. I stood up, extended my hand, and kept my expression neutral. "Amelia," I said, my voice even and professional. "Good to see you again. Please have a seat." She shook my hand. Her palm was clammy and cold. She stumbled slightly as she sat down in the chair across from us, her movements jerky and uncoordinated. The poised professional who had walked in the door 30 seconds ago was gone, replaced by a panicked, cornered animal. Carol and Dave, oblivious to the drama that had just unfolded, launched into their standard opening. They explained the role, the company, the culture. I watched Amelia as they spoke. She was trying to recover, to regain her composure. She was nodding, attempting to smile, but her eyes kept darting towards me, wide with a mixture of terror and disbelief. Then it was time for the questions. Dave went first, asking about her experience with project management software and handling difficult clients. Her answers were a disaster. She was stammering, using vague corporate speak, and couldn't provide a single concrete example. The brain that had been so sharp with witty insults at parties was now completely blank when it came to professional substance. Carol followed up with behavioral questions. "Tell us about a time you had to work with a difficult team member. How did you handle it?" Amelia's answer was a rambling mess about managing different personalities and fostering synergy. It was clear she had never worked in a real team environment in her life. Then it was my turn. I had my questions prepared. They were the same questions I would ask any candidate for this role, but in this context they had a delicious, unspoken subtext. Amelia began, leaning forward slightly. "This role requires a high degree of humility. You're often the bridge between our technical teams and very demanding, high-value clients. Can you describe a situation where you had to put your own ego aside to achieve a better outcome for the team or the client?" She stared at me, her mind clearly racing, trying to figure out the trap. She couldn't come up with anything. She mumbled something about listening to feedback, but it was weak and unconvincing. I moved on to my final question. "One of our core company values is gratitude. We believe it's crucial for building long-term partnerships, both internally and with our clients. Could you tell us about a time in your professional life when you felt a deep sense of gratitude for an opportunity you were given?" The silence that followed was profound. Her face went from pale to a deep, blotchy red. She was trapped. Every possible answer was a lie, and we both knew it. She looked at me, her eyes pleading now. The arrogance was gone, replaced by a desperate, pathetic hope that I might show her some mercy. She couldn't answer the question. She just shook her head slightly and whispered, I can't think of an example right now." "Thank you for your time, Amelia," Carol said, stepping in to end the excruciating awkwardness. "We'll be in touch." Amelia practically fled the room. After she left, Dave and Carol looked at me. "Well," Dave said, "that was one of the worst interviews I've ever seen." She completely fell apart. Carol nodded. She looked great on paper, but in person, zero substance. And that last question. She couldn't answer a simple question about gratitude. That's a huge red flag. "I agree," I said, keeping my face a perfect mask of professional neutrality, "not the right fit for our culture." The candidate we hired, the one whose offer letter is on my desk, was the woman who interviewed right after Amelia. Her name is Rachel. She's smart, experienced, and hungry. But the thing that sold us was her answer to my gratitude question. She talked about her first boss, who took a chance on her when she had no experience and mentored her. She spoke with genuine emotion about how that opportunity shaped her entire career and how she tries to pay it forward every day. She was the real deal. I got one final email from Amelia last night, sent from a new address. It was short. I get it. You win. I hope you're happy. I didn't reply. Because this was never about winning or losing. It was about character. She had shown me hers, and I had simply given her the opportunity to show it to the world. She failed. She thought gratitude was something she was owed. I hired someone who understands that it's something you have to earn. And in the end, that was the most satisfying revengeable.